Isn't this a beautiful firearm? Let's take it apart, shall we? Yeah, we got the 586 L Comp from Smith & Wesson on the gun bench today, and we're going to be doing a complete disassembly. This disassembly is going to be very not specific to other Smith & Wesson revolvers. They're going to be very, very close, if not the exact same, for most of your Smith & Wesson double-action revolvers. So I already removed the grip screws, and I've got the side plate screws here. I make one of these I have them for different revolvers, just so the screws stay in the same hole. Like it really matters for these bottom two. But so let's go ahead and remove the grips. Now when you remove the side, you're going to have these two little studs that might pop out that go right here that help keep everything in line and together. So just be mindful of those. And then pop your right grip off. And then I've already taken out this front screw here. So it's a 3 screws. So you got 2 back here and 1 up here. This one's different. This one's going to allow you to remove your yoke. So once you remove that screw, you can pull the cylinder, the yoke, everything out. From here you can remove the yoke, and then if you want to remove the cylinder from the extractor rod and the extractor itself, I'll show you. I'll set that over here. Now I have a vise over here. I'm going to move the camera just a little bit. That light's way too bright. And I'm going to back this up. I'm going to put the extractor rod in as far as I can get it. And you want these jaws to be smooth so they don't eat up your finish. Tighten it up, and then you're going to want to tighten it pretty good too. I just had this one pre-loosened, so you're going to rotate it to the right, so clockwise. So just keep your hand over the front and just turn it. Keep my palm here, so here in a second that's all going to pop free. So just keep rotating it until it pops. And then that is how you remove the cylinder from the extractor rod, and then you can take out the extractor itself. It's got a groove in it, so it can only go back in one way. And we're going to go ahead and put it back in here. You can see if you want to take the springs out. The spring, you have the actual rod itself. And you want to keep that all together. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it back on. So what you just want to do is push it back on, keep your hand on the extractor, your thumb over the extractor, and just push it in, and then just give it a few turns to the left. So this is left-handed thread. Until it catches and you can let go and just keep turning. Oop. And this is where, once we get snug here, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it up good. You don't want to go super tight where you want to make sure it's tight. Okay. So now the cylinder's complete. We'll put it off to the side so we can put it back in the gun when we're ready. Now to save time on my bench, I'm going to remove the vise. And now I can be more. Alright, so we've got our screws, we've got the side plate. So next would be to remove the side plate. Now this has been an age-old discussion. I've seen very well-renowned gunsmiths say to get in there and pry it off lightly, and I've seen some of the best gunsmiths out there say do the tap method. I do the tap method on some, and some you have to pry off. So it's going to be even a tight fit. Even the first time I've done this, it was it's basically just get you a wooden hammer and just keep it on the. Oh. Just tap it till the side plate comes off. Now when the side plate comes off, you're gonna have the hammer block, and it sits in the side plate like this. sits on this rebound slide stud here, and when it pull the trigger, it moves it up and down. So that's how that works. So keep this plate, put it up. Of course, it's such a beautiful finish, you don't want to ruin that. And then we can start on the frame, inside of the frame itself. So firstly, I do want to say, before you remove grip screws, which it might be too past that time, use good fitting screwdriver bits, gunsmithing bits, hollow ground screwdrivers, just so you don't booger up the edges of these beautiful screws. Any gun, any finish, you don't want to mess up. So first thing we'll do is detension the mainspring. So there's a screw in the front of the grip here. Let me turn the light back on. And you're just going to want to loosen that screw up. Until it's loose enough that the mainspring will come off the stirrup. Put your mainspring off to the side. You can either take that screw out, or I just like to put it back in for now. All right. From there, we want to remove the rebound slide itself. I'm going to zoom in so you can see the rebound slide. Oh, stirrup came off. I'll show you how that goes back on in a minute. It's right here, this piece here. So if you don't have the tool for it, Smith & Wesson sells one. This comes in the Wheeler kit too. You can make one if you had the metal to do it. It's not very hard. This goes down in here, and what it does is depresses this spring, so it goes in between. You see there's a hole there. Kind of see how it works. You look down in there, there's a hole. The spring's in there, and that spring's resting against this stud in the frame. And basically, what the tool does is go in between that hole, pushes the spring. So what you want to do is just keep your hand over it here. I'm just going to push in to push that spring and kind of lift up at the same time until it comes out. As you can see, like I said, there's a spring in there. And then you'll do the same thing when you put it back in, but we'll do that when the time comes. From there, you can remove the hammer itself. So just pull back the bolt a little bit here in the front. Pull back the hammer, and then at a certain point, you lift it out of there. And we'll go back to the hammer in a minute once we get the gun disassembled and show you how to remove the sear. From here, you can remove the trigger itself. So just pull the hand back out of the slot where it sits. Just pull it back and then lift it out, just like that. And you're gonna have the rebound slide pin. And then to remove the hand, now I'm gonna go into a little detail on the hand, because a lot of people have problems with this. To remove the hand, you simply just keep my finger over here at the back and just pull it out. So a lot of people have problems with the spring that's in here. Let's say you're working on it. I don't recommend taking it out. There's no reason to. But sometimes that spring falls out of there. And people, when you look, I'll try to get a picker here and show you while I hold this flashlight. It's not going to be easy, but if you look down in there and you're looking for a place to put that spring, like, you know, most guns have a slot or somewhere you can put that spring, you don't see it. So I've heard of people struggling with this for hours, trying to figure out how to get this spring back in there. Because what it does is it goes in there. I'm going to demonstrate like this. And when you put this hand back through this spring, you tension it up, you push it back, and it rests like this on top of this front stud on the hand. That's what gives it the tension. But when you look down in there, you don't see a place to put this spring. So I'm going to try to show you real quick. Get my straight poker. This might be kind of hard to do. If you look down in there, this light ain't going to stay. Makes it worse. there's a slot down in there. You can see, you kind of see where the ball is. It's hard to hold this light and show you at the same time. Right here, there we go. So there's a, looks like there's a ball cut out here. That's where that stud goes I showed you up in the front. And then right, get it to focus, right below that, right above that, you see the slot. So you can see where my finger is here at the top through the hole. And then right below that, before that little ball cutout, you see the little slot? There's just a small slot there, and that's where that screw goes back. Or that spring. So when you put the spring back in the trigger, it's going to look like this. It's going to go straight in like this. And it rests inside that slot. So we're just going to push it in, and then a lot of times you just got to get a pick or something and just kind of lift it. Help if the pick wasn't magnetic. Oh, where's my other one? Okay. Straight in. Bottom of the leg is to the left. The long leg is on the right. And just trying to make it so you can see it. Push it down into the slot. There we go. So once you get it in there, you should be able to push up on this end of the leg and have tension, so it'll be hard to push up. And that's how you want it, because when you put the hand back in, you're going to push that up, slip the hand in, and it's going to fall back onto it. So just show you why it's down in there, how it looks. It's basically where it sits. It just goes straight into that slot. And that's what gives it its tension. So I know a lot of people have trouble with that, and a lot of people don't explain it. So it used to be pinned years ago, so they're not anymore. All right. From here, we got that over with. Sorry to go on a little rant about that. Not a rant. But we have the rebound slide, or not the rebound slide, sorry. Cylinder stop. And the cylinder stop, I'll zoom back in, has a spring right here. So basically what you need to do, a couple different ways. I push down on it with my finger and then try to get just a pick or a small screwdriver underneath just to raise it up. Sometimes you can't do that, so you gotta grab like a pair of needle nose or something and just kind of pull it up a little bit so it kind of holds itself there, and then you can grab a little screwdriver until it starts to come out of there. From there, you want to keep your hand over this back so that spring doesn't come flying out, and then just lift it up out of there. And then you're going to have the cylinder stop and the spring. I'll show you how to put it back in here later. It goes back in like this. So there's that. And then you have the bolt to remove. So what you want to do is flip it over and remove the actual cylinder release. Once again, being careful not to nick any edges or scratch up your gun or somebody else's gun. Pull that out. And this will come out too, so just be careful. Go ahead and put it back down in there. Off to the side, and then to remove the bolt, you can, I like to keep, now if you look down in there, you'll see there's a plunger that gives it the tension back and forth. So I just kind of keep my thumb over here and then just pull back with my index finger just to lift it up out of there. There we go. You just don't want to lose that plunger. It's got a small plunger and a little spring, and that'll go flying. I'll show you a way to get it back in there. And then the gun is basically stripped depending on the year you have it. Now we do also have the Hillary hole, as people like to call it, or the lock. So if you actually wanted to remove the locking mechanism from the gun, this is what you would do. Now if you just want to remove it for cleaning, I'll show you that too. But to actually remove this so the lock doesn't function, if you look, this is the lock itself. So when you turn the key, this rotates up and catches a notch on the hammer itself and allows it so it can't be pulled back. So if you look at the very bottom, there's a little bitty spring that rests on the frame right here. So basically, you just kind of have to pull that spring down and out of the way so you can raise it up. It's just kind of hard to... Oh, come on, I can't get my fingers on it. I can just grab it with a pair of tweezers. Get out of there. There we go. There. I don't know why, I've never had a catch like that. So you can see it's a super small spring here, and it just, when you put it back in, you're just going to pull that spring down and drop it into its spot. From there, the locking mechanism is removed. Of course, you could still turn this. Now, I'm not going to be honest, I don't think you can remove this. I'm sure you could. I don't know how, and I don't want to, because now the lock is gone. So from there, the last thing in the gun, besides doing sights, which I'm not going to do, is the firing pin itself. So the firing pin is retained by this pin here. So basically just push in on the firing pin and then just pull this pin out. And then your firing pin and you might have to just grab it with some tweezers or something to pull the firing pin itself out. And then there's a spring that doesn't want to come out, and you just gotta help it out there. So there you go. Now the gun is completely stripped of what you want to do besides sights. If you wanted to change out the sights, most of them you have to drop that real small pin, drop the sight in. Most of them make you drill out the hole on the sight. Alright, so should we put it back together? I think so. So we'll start by putting the firing pin back in the gun. And I'm going to just go ahead and drop the spring in. And then the firing pin has a slot that capture pin rides through, so this cutout needs to be on the bottom when you put the firing pin back in. From there, push in on the firing pin just a little bit, and then push this pin in. Now the firing pin should be captured and work, which it does. Alright, from there, we can put the lock back in if you want. I'm just doing this for general purpose. So what I do is just get it where it's ready to drop in, then just pull that spring out. So it sits underneath there. And it works, so it's got a little tension. Alright, you can go ahead and put the bolt, oh, no, wait, yeah, put the bolt back in now. To do that, so I like to go ahead and get it kind of lined up here in the hole in the front. Maybe. And then from there, push this, depress this pin down, so if you got fingernails, this is the time to use them. And then keep your finger over this at all times, just in case. And then, once you get it to that point, where it's ready to be kind of pushed down in there, just grab a small pick or something. Ooh, down in there. Do that. Oop. Do that again real quick. Didn't have it in the right spot. I'm just gonna depress that. Slide it down into that first little hole there. And you might have to lift it up just a little bit, because if not, it hits right here. And you're trying to slide it down in there, and then grab your pick and slide the plunger back. You should be able to get it there. Just slap it down in there. So you have to do the bolt first before you put the Hillary lock back in. From there, you want to do the rebound spring, or the cylinder stop. So to do that, it's going to, this hole here is going to sit on this front post. Hopefully the light's good. There we go. I have to, anyways. So what I'll do is just go ahead and get it kind of on the post, and you can see how it wraps in there. It sits like this. And then take either a pick or something, a small screwdriver, and then just depress this spring. Keep your finger right over it so it doesn't go flying. Until you get it down in there at least. And then as you push it down in, I like to push it down a little bit. Push it down with the screwdriver or the punch, whatever you can get in there. Push it down until it snaps, and then just make sure that the spring isn't crooked and everything actuates as it should. It does. So from there, what do we want to do here? I'll go ahead just to, so the bolt doesn't come back out. Put the cylinder release on there. You gotta put the screw in the right way first, though. Get that on. Drop the down in there. Tighten it up, just good, little snug. So that can't come out now. And then, let's see, trigger. Yeah, trigger. Trigger. So now to put the hand back in, this part I'm gonna move the gun up out of the way. So as you can see, that spring I was talking about, and the hand goes in like this, straight, kind of straight up and down. And it's got that front pin that goes through the bigger hole, and it sits in the gun like this. And that spring, of course, pushes it. Because you can mess up and you can put it in a different way. I'm pretty sure, yeah, like this or something. So just make sure it's straight up and down when you're putting it in. And what I do is put it on the bench, pull the hand out, and then I'm going to take I have a slotted screwdriver. It's kind of cut on one side. And I'm going to push that spring up and get ready to be able to slide the hand in. I might get in the way of this because it's kind of hard to, I got to keep my fingers down here. There we go. So once I get it in there, it should act like this and be have tension forward. Okay, so now we'll put that back in. Just make sure you take the rebound pin and just put that in and keep it kind of up right now, and then just pull the hand back and then just kind of get it in line with the cylinder stop. Push it down in and the hand can go forward. See how that's all working. All right, from here, put the, oh, I did forget to show you how to take the sear out of itself. So if you see, it's not pinned anymore. It's just a very, very small spring inside there. So if you want to take it out, the best way is I just do is just keep my fingers over it and just slide out the sear. And then kind of pull up the spring while I do it, and it should come with it. And then if you're working on the trigger or something, you just work on the sear by itself. And then putting it back in, same thing basically. I just go ahead and get it in the general area, push down on the spring, get my fingers in the right spot, and then just kind of push it in. And the same thing I do with that cylinder stop, just kind of push the spring in while I push the sear back, just so it makes sure it falls into its hole. It's got tension, but you don't want it to be kind of rough. So that's how that goes in. When you put the hammer in, you have the mainspring stirrup. You want to watch on this particular gun. It goes in this way. There's this side's numbered. It's got like a number. Let me see. W and 2. Well, that's going to face the inners of the gun, and it's going to go in like this. Now you can have this can go in two different ways. You want to make sure, so if you put it in like this from where the bottom, it gets stuck like this and it can't go up. So you want to make sure that you put it in like this and slide it up over the back. Yep. So it's tension down. So that's how that goes back in. So now you're going to do the same thing you did before. You're just going to have to pull the bolt back. Let's get the hammer to go past the cylinder stop or the bolt itself. Once you do that, then you'll have to manipulate the trigger just to get it in the right spot. And there's that. So technically now, everything would work. And then I'll push the stirrup out of the way and then put the rebound slide back in. So it's going to go in like this. I'm going to set it on top of the stud where it's at. I can put that back in a minute. And then I'm going to use that tool I have. If you don't have one, screwdriver that you can fit in between there will work too. It's just kind of more of a pain in the butt. And then I'm going to push in on this spring. And while I do that, I'm going to kind of keep my hand. Be careful, because this you'll end up ramming yourself, but you got to push it in, kind of get it down in there, and then you should be able to push it down. Once you get it to a certain point, just push it down in there like that. Okay, so that's working like it should. And now you're ready to put the stirrup back on if it fell out, and the mainspring. So just like that. Slide it down. There we go. Should stay like that. Put your mainspring in there. It's going to hook from the bottom like this onto that. Go into the slot down here. Just unscrew the screw. So it'll go down in there, And then it's going to rest in a little cup down here. And then just tighten the screw up. Oh, don't want to slip off. I have this in a weird angle. I'm holding the screwdriver weird. Just make sure it's all good before you start putting all the tension on it. And then, all right, now just go ahead and tighten it all the way up. Gonna get to a point and stop. Now we should keep everything down in there. Yep, a fully working gun. Now you have to put the side plate back on. So usually this will stay in here as you tip it over to put it back in. So as I put the side plate on, there's this tab that sticks up at the top that's got to go into this little slot. So I kind of put that in first, but not at a real harsh angle. Oh, come on, stay in there. Like you've done every other time. If not, just lift the gun up like this. Just kind of get it in there. Nope, it seems like it fell out while I did that. So it should. Most, at least this one, all kind of sits down on there about perfect without having to put any excessive force onto it. So. Nope, I still don't think that's right. It doesn't feel right. You don't want to go forcing it on there, so just make sure everything feels right. It sits, this hole here sits on this rebound slide, so just want to make sure it's all right. So I'm going to keep it straight up and down now. There we go. So it should, depending on your gun, sometimes these are tight down here to get in there. You might have to take a small rubber mallet or plastic and just give it small taps. I mean, don't drive it home. If you got to drive it home, it's either a ridiculously tight fit or something's wrong. So now we will put, I'm going to put these front two screws in. That is the disassembly and assembly. Now that those are in, I'm going to put the yoke back onto the cylinder. Slide the cylinder in. Like that. Click it in place. And put the final screw in. Nope, that was the right one. Put a little bit more on these screws just to make sure they're tight. All right, and that is the gun. So if you want to watch me put the grips back on, you can. If not, appreciate everybody for watching. So I'm working on getting some different guns now. I've exhausted all my personal guns. So I'm working on getting some new ones in to do some videos, and we'll like to try to drop new videos at least once a week on disassemblies. You know, we're at over 250 subscribers now, so to the people that watch, I appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoys watching these videos. Try to do my best on them. I know I have an annoying voice. But, yeah. All right. That was the Smith & Wesson 586L comp, most Smith & Wesson double action revolvers, complete disassembly. thanks everybody for watching the gun bench. If you like the video, subscribe. I have been hearing something about if you're subscribed, it doesn't give you notifications if I post new videos. So the bell thing they want you to click on. That'll tell you if when I post new videos. And we'll see everybody next time. Thanks for watching.